Hi, today we're going to talk about servicing extreme aftermarket assemblies. In the case here, we have an Assanti wheel. This happens to be a 22-inch two-piece wheel that has some of the characteristics that you may run into when doing some of these extreme aftermarket assemblies. By two-piece, that means that this wheel is assembled. So we have a front piece here, and then the back piece is assembled to it with that ring of bolts. What presents a challenge sometimes with these two-piece and three-piece wheels is the way that they're built, okay? This barrel, we call it, is usually very straight, and what this will cause us difficulty is with full bottom bead braking and demounting, all right? And also with mounting the top bead because we have to push the bead all the way down the barrel. They also have very shallow drop centers. They're reverse of course. This Assanti wheel is particularly challenging because the barrel here, this 4 inches approximately, is essentially at safety hump diameter. In other words, this diameter is larger than would typically be found on the barrel. So you essentially have to force that bottom bead all the way across this barrel. Okay, it's an extreme challenge. Most three-piece wheels will have a straight barrel, but this particular challenging design with the larger diameter is really the most difficult to contend with. All right, it is a reverse wheel, so that means we get out our flange plate. Again, the flange plate I've already set up for 5 fingers for this 5-bolt hole wheel. Make our adjustments. It's always easier to put this retainer bolt in here. Ahead of time, and that'll keep the flange plate secure to our wheel. Take our platen off, set it aside. Because these, even though they're all aluminum, can be fairly heavy, we'll want to use the wheel lift to help ourselves out. As always, make sure you drop the flange plate into its locking pins there. Then we'll clamp normally. In general, you'll see us using less lubrication on the Revolution than we have on traditional old school force-it-on kind of tire changers. This is the exception. Because of this straight barrel that's so large in diameter, we're going to have to lubricate very generously on this barrel. Another thing we'll, of course, lubricate is the tire, except for the top sidewall. We'll want to keep that relatively dry because it'll help establish traction on the press arms when we get to that point. So be our top bead. What we want to make sure we do when lubricating is lubricate the inside of that top bead. That'll actually do more to reduce mounting stress over the mount head than anything. Okay, so we've got the tire and wheel very aggressively lubricated now. As usual, we'll save our diameter or set our diameter. What we'll do is bring the upper roller down into place. I want you to bring the roller right to and touching the rim edge on these super low profile wheels, okay? You don't want any margin of error there. Bring our valve stem position over as well. This is still important even on a 3-piece or 2-piece wheel because it is possible for the bottom bead to damage that valve stem. Once we feel like we're comfortably where we need to be, hit the go pedal to save and set diameter. Because we're starting with the mounting process on this particular assembly, we're going to go ahead and select mount both beads rather than demount, and we'll drop to the bottom bead demounting step. Hit go. The tire changer will automatically position for our tire. And then continue. Bottom bead mounting is fairly standard. So you can see our problem again. The bottom bead cannot get past this raised profile or this raised barrel. So what we can do is use our press arms and our roller to help push that tire down. So what I can do is bring the press arms in, and I'm completely manually controlling them at this point. Press down a little bit. You'll see that my press arms may miss here. Don't worry about that. Just manually bring them in as needed. You want to press down as much as you can in as many places as you need to. It's not uncommon at all to get an error message. Warning about pusher crash. Don't worry about it too much. Just live with it. Press that tire down as much as you can. In some cases, it's almost impossible to push it down and get over that barrel. So what we want to do is then continue with the top bead mount and try to contend with the tire as we have it. So I'll go ahead and let the machine get set up for that. That means mount head where it is, upper roller where it is, bead press arms fully clockwise, counterclockwise rather. Right now, our bead, because it is so high, is over our hook. Because we've tried to press down around it, there's little we can do about it right now. So let's go ahead and let the process continue a short ways and see where we end up. Here you can see that our pushers have pinched our tire against the rim edge. So this is a good time to use the new feature, invert pusher order. So I'll just press retry invert pusher order here. All the tools will come back. And now the press arms will come down first. We'll want to pull this tire towards us. Now you'll notice that the press arms are getting flexed outward from the rim. We can, now that they're below the rim edge, bring them in. Okay. You'll also notice that we're still over our hook. We want the bead of that tire to be under the hook. So I really don't have a lot of automatic options for getting that bead off the hook. So I'm going to use, unfortunately, a lever. All right? And what we'll do is come around here and essentially pry our bead under our hook, like you just saw. So I brought the lever underneath the bead and flipped it up so that the lever popped my hook up above the tire and the tire below the hook. Now our tire is set up to automatically mount, right? We're in the right position relative to the hook. Our roller is up, but will come down momentarily once we hit the go pedal. Our press arms are in. Put a little more lube and we can hit the go pedal. All of these manual operations we put into place will be accepted and we'll proceed. An alternate method than using the lever to pop the hook above the bead would be to navigate the mount head into a correct position and push the bead down. So you see me use that technique here. Here we are, we're at the top bead mount step. I'm going to say retry invert push order. This is an important part of this step. So let's do that. Bring our pushers around. Make sure our bead is pushed down as much as we reasonably can. Press go. Let our press arms come down. We can press them in if we wish. All right. And again, we see that we're over the hook. So what we're going to do is manually position the mount head, raise it up, and basically drive it towards the bead in such a way that the hook ends up on top of the bead, okay? And the mount head is below it. To do so, we need to go to manual mode, disable diameter limits, and then manually drive my mount head. So what we'll do is raise it up a little bit, get it above the rim, bring it over here, so even though we've done all of these manual operations and moved the tool hook and the mount head manually, once everything is in position, I can still go ahead and use my go pedal to proceed. So let's go. And there we are. Inflation on these tires can sometimes be a challenge as well. A lot of times they'll catch up under here. So you may, in some cases, have to do a secondary operation where you put the roller down and do further lubrication before inflating. I'm getting away with it in this case. I'm also using the pressure override function to seat my beads. Now you'll notice that this tire is in fact narrow for my rim width here. This is a real live customer application. So this is this fitment that the shop is using and selling today. These narrower tires on wider rims is, as you've seen, is a new style. It does present some challenges, and that's why we're fitting it this way. So demounting one of these tires carries with it special challenges as well. But always, as always, we set our diameter normally. It is super low profile, so we'll want to be as close to the rim edge as possible. Always note the valve stem or TPMS. Press go to save this location. In this case, we want to demount, so the automatic procedure should work. As we noted when you saw the wheel, that bottom barrel is so straight and so challenging that we'll want to really do as much as we can to help free that bottom bead. In which case, that means putting some lubrication on. And in fact, you may choose to use some manual control. Move over to manual rotation, clockwise or counterclockwise. And press that bottom bead up a little further to get some more lube under there. You may end up going backward and forward because of TPMS protection. That's no problem. Okay. Once you feel like you've loosened that bottom bead sufficiently, resume with the go pedal, and the automatic procedure will pick up where it left off. With super low profile tires like this, it's quite common for the hook to skip off of the sidewall and down the tire tread. We can see that over here. And we can see that hook is on the outside of the tire tread. As you know, whenever something doesn't work in the automatic procedure, there should be a retry for that, in which case we want to use retry, hook not inserted, and then press our go pedal again. It will draw the hook up, reposition all the tools. Once we get basically positioned, here's what I want you to do. Take this upper roller, press it downward about twice as much, an extreme amount, okay? Then press go again, and this creates a much larger gap for our hook to go into. As you can see, our hook is now properly hooked the bead. A nice low profile tire like this, probably be worthwhile to use the press arms on the opposite side. Just bring them around, hit go. I missed it because I allowed the hook to come up a little bit. I just simply say hooked, use pusher to assist bead lift, and these will come down. Okay, so what we saw here was that our tire, probably because it's so narrow relative to our rim, flipped off of our hook after it pulled up. Now, how do we deal with that? Well, simply go back and hook the bead. So we say retry, bead not hooked. We remember to bring our roller down an extreme amount. Let our press arms come down here. So what I'm going to use is my lower roller and bring it up to assist. You know, if I bring it up early, it'll probably want to drop back down. That's okay. When it drops, So our first option of using the bottom roller to support the bead isn't working because the bead is popping off before the roller can get into position. So we have another option. We will actually use full manual control of our hook in this case, okay? So I've got a good successful method for hooking that bead, so I'm going to go ahead and retry bead not hook. Bring our bottom roller or top roller down. Create a nice gap. Once I hook this bead, my press arm's on the opposite side, and I will take over manual hook control and manual lower roller. So what I'm going to do is, using the up direction on the mount head joystick, I can bring this hook up. I can bring it up a small amount, and then again, using manual control on the lower roller, I'm going to push to the left to bring it out to bead seat diameter, up, and then I want to remember to indent, so push left again once I'm inside the rim edge, like you see here. Okay? Otherwise, it's possible for the roller to skip onto the rim or the outside of the tire tread. Then bring my joystick up. I can bring my press arms down. Hook up. So you can see I'm completely operating this manually. And I want to make sure I get a nice amount of rubber here. And then manual rotation. Actually, bring your press arms up first because they're already in the drop center. Okay, you can see I used manual rotation there to completely demount the top bead. Okay? I'm going to get my lower roller out of the way. It's giving me an error message about TPMS. If you do get an error message about TPMS that is inconvenient for you, so long as you're aware of where your tools are, you can go to manual mode, ignore TPMS, and finish demounting your top bead. And again, that was with the manual rotation pedal. So you can see we completely manually demounted the top bead because of this special assembly, the two-piece wheel with the extra wide barrel and the super narrow tread compared to the wheel size. And you'll also note that we're still stuck on our bottom bead because of, again, that super wide diameter there. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't just jump right to the next step, which is bottom bead demount. So we'll go ahead and do that. And always give the automatic mode a chance. So hit your go pedal and let's see how it behaves. And what we're watching for is, does this side free up? And it did push up, but if you'll notice, it skipped over onto the tread of the tire. So you can see the roller is on the outside of the tread. We're going to use our retry, of course. You could pick retry tire pinched. That's the best example of what it was. Or retry tire not in the drop center. Both would work. We're going to try retry tire not in the drop center this time, because it might give us some moves that help us here. So the tire changer is going to kind of try to wiggle the tire up. Wants to make sure I'm loose. Now that I am, that's good. I'm going to hold it in the drop center here. And allow the process to continue. So as you can see, this extreme aftermarket assembly with its two-piece construction, wide, large diameter barrel, undersized tire, does pose challenges for the automatic mode of the Revolution tire changer. But with certain manual interventions, you can see also that the tire changer certainly has the power, the control, and the tools necessary to mount and demount these tires, just with technique and liberal use of the retry procedure.